Hey everybody, it's Buzz. I just wanted to make this quick video to talk about a topic I've been thinking about a lot recently. And that is reused and remade 21 Pilots songs and reused lyrics. 21 Pilots has had a pretty interesting history, from when Tyler was making music on his own, to starting the band, to actually getting one of their albums published through an unofficial record label. They've had the chance of remaking a bunch of their songs over the years and reusing some of their lyrics from their old discontinued stuff from when Tyler was younger. And so I thought it would be a fun video to talk about some of the reused lyrics and interesting history with some of these songs. This video is not going to be about like the lore of the 21 Pilots songs or the videos, or even necessarily some of the hidden meanings in songs. This is mostly going to be about reused material with their discontinued albums. Reused songs and things like that. But anyway, I think it'll be fun. Let's jump right into it. I'm going to start with Tyler's oldest album, No Fun Intended. This album supposedly started production in 2007, and the song Blasphemy actually has a reused rap verse which got used for the album Regional at Best in 2011. In the song Anathema, it's, I start to part two halves of my heart in the dark, and I don't know where I should go when the tears and the fears begin to multiply. Taking time in a simple place in my bed when my head rests on a pillowcase, I said that a war is led, but I forget that I let another day go by. I want to be afraid, but it seems that these days I'm caught underwater and I'm falling farther. My heart's getting harder, I'm calling my father. Am I screaming to an empty sky? Empty sky, no way, that's me, 'cause one half of my heart is free. Empty sky, no way, that's me, 'cause the other half of my heart's asleep. Pretty fun that it got reused 4 years later. Next up, another song from the same album, No Fun Intended. We have Drown. There's another rap verse which gets completely reused for the song Fall Away, which is the first official 21 Pilots album from 2009, so only a 2-year difference this time. Every time I feel selfish ambition is taking my vision, my crime is my sentence, repentance is taking commission, is taking a toll on my soul, I'm screaming submission, and I don't know if I am dying or living, 'cause I would save face for name's sake, abuse grace, take aim to obtain a new name in a newer place. But my name is lame, I can't walk and I ain't the same, and my name became my new destiny to the grave. The next songs are both in the album No Fun Intended, but both songs, I Want to Know and Trees, have the lyrics I want to know, I want to see, back to back. A pretty interesting thing. Also, an interesting fact is that this song Taxi Cab from the self-titled 21 Pilots album, it's actually a far older song than when it was released. Tyler has said during a couple of shows before that Taxi Cab is actually the first ever song that Tyler added a rap verse onto. It's far older than the 2009 date it was actually released on. Next up, we have Just Like Yesterday and Ode to Sleep. Just Like Yesterday was from No Fun Intended, so around the 2007-2008 era. And then Ode to Sleep was originally on Regional and Best in 2011, and then was later remade and re-released for the studio album, Vessel. The lyrics are not actually exactly the same in this one. There's some differences. On the eve of the day that's forgotten and fake, as the trees they await and the clouds anticipate, the start of the day that we put on our face, a mask that portrays that we don't need grace. And the meaning and weight of the day is lost without a trace. On the eve of the day that is bigger than us, we open our eyes only because we're told that we must, and the trees wave their arms, and the clouds desperately try to plead, desperately yelling there's something else in this world that we need, and it happens to be free. Years later in Regional and Best, it actually is far condensed into a much shorter verse with a different ending for Ode to Sleep. On the eve of the day that's forgotten and fake, as the trees they await and the clouds anticipate, the start of the day that we put on our face, a mask that portrays that we don't need grace. On the eve of the day that is bigger than us, we open our eyes, 'cause we're told that we must. And the trees wave their arms, and the clouds desperately try to plead, desperately yelling there's something we need. So a couple of actually whole lines are removed from that to condense it quite a bit, which it actually flows far better in the Vessel version and the Regional and Best version. In No Fun Intended, Tyler wrote a song called Prove Me Wrong, which is about him feeling romantically lonely, and he wants someone to come around and prove him wrong and show love to him. And then in the song Blurry Face, he writes a love song about his wife called Tear in My Heart, which is an extremely wholesome change in some of his songwriting to see, like, I wish someone would come around and prove me wrong that I'm unlovable, to making a love song later on in his, after the band blew up, which is, that's just an extremely unwholesome change right there, to be honest. So while I was editing the section about I'm a Goner and Goner, it came to my attention that the I'm a Goner from No Fun Intended was more than likely a fan-made version of the song, which was uploaded onto YouTube, and then people assumed was actually from Tyler for his album No Fun Intended, but it was in fact actually a fan-made, and the first ever version of Goner was from their YouTube channel in 2012 when they uploaded the supposed remastered version. Now, there are still rumors about the original I'm a Goner. There are some rumors floating around that a work-in-progress version of Goner was released around the No Fun Intended era, called The One Goner, and this version of the song was about a minute long and was only the instrumental for the song. It had no lyrics. This work-in-progress version of Goner would have been a track that he released on CD in a mixtape style of sorts and handed out to people. Whether this The One Goner exists or not really comes down to rumors. There's no definite answer for if it was a fan-made thing or if it actually exists. The only physical proof that The One Goner exists are drive files, which are supposedly created by Tyler. But again, something like that could be faked somewhat easily, so again, it's whether this work-in-progress version is actually a released version, I can't say. Now, as far as I'm a Goner existing or being a different version of Goner, which is on No Fun Intended, this is very likely fake. The reason being is there was never a mention of the song in the fan base before the 2012 YouTube video, and there is a voice clip of Tyler at the end of the YouTube upload for what is supposedly the original I'm a Goner, and that voice clip of Tyler did not exist in the No Fun Intended era because the voice clip is from a video which is newer than that. So with all this evidence, more than likely, I'm a Goner was never on No Fun Intended, and it was just a rumor to begin with. And the first version of the song to exist would have been the 2012 YouTube video. So I'm a Goner. So Goner would have been originally released on their YouTube channel in 2012 before getting remade and remastered for the album Blurry Face. Extremely similar situation happened with the song Trees. Trees is on 3 official albums from Tyler and 2 albums from 21 Pilots. It's on No Fun Intended, Regional at Best, and Vessel. And it originally was released on CD to local friends of his at a church, much like The One Goner. And it was apparently originally called The Trees, not just Trees. But the song was the same. He just shortened the name, apparently, for his official release. And so technically there's 4 versions, but, there's really only like 2... or there's really only like 3 main versions of the song Trees, but it is pretty interesting. Next up we have Going Down and Guns for Hands. Going Down was a single made by Tyler Joseph, which was never actually released in any of his official albums or the band 21 Pilots' albums. In Going Down, he says, "Why do I feel scared in the morning? The sun's up and everybody's moving on." And then in Guns for Hands, he says, "I know what you think in the morning when the sun shines on the ground." Basically, it sounds like he's referencing this older lyric. And of course, being scared in the morning, of course, represents anxiety you may have if you have insomnia, or just a lot of people tend to have more anxiety at nighttime. And he's saying, like, I used to have this, and I understand. In the song Guns for Hands. And it's extremely interesting to see him be like, I feel this way. And then later on, in a different song, multiple years later, say, "Hey, remember that? I remember it, and you're not alone if you're feeling that right now. Very interesting lyric right there. Also, a lot of Tyler Joseph's older songs, which are far more about anxiety and depression, use the metaphor about falling, fall away, going down, trapdoor, all these songs about, like, falling being, like, a sign of falling into your psyche and having an episode of anxiety or depression or something. What's interesting is that in some of their newest songs, they actually reference the opposite of that, such as Nico and the Niners saying East is up, and referencing rising in a far less negative context, such as in Bandito, where he says, I could take the higher road, but I know that I'm going low. Kind of like saying, I've moved on from this, but I still understand, and I want to help people by writing lyrics that are powerful to people. In the song Choker from the 21 Pilots' newest album, Scaled and Icy, there's a poem verse which sounds pretty much exactly like a lot of the older poem verses from Tyler's and 21 Pilots' older music. And it turns out Addict with a Pen and Taxi Cab pretty much fit in with that rap verse at the end of Choker, to the point where you could sing those lyrics with the tune of Choker playing and it would fit perfectly and sound like an older song from 21 Pilots. Of course, this is around the time when Tyler said he actually started to listen to and appreciate some of his older music far more than he used to, so that may be a purposeful homage to his older music and his older poem style he used to use a lot more. In the self-titled album song, March to the Sea, they sing, there's miles of land in front of us, we're dying with every step we take, we're dying with every breath we make, all fall in line, a stranger's back is all I see, he's only a few feet in front of me, I'll look left and right sometimes, but I'll fall in line. No one looks up anymore, 'cause you might get a raindrop in your eye, and heaven forbid when they see you cry as we fall in line. And then the very new song from the new album, Scaled and Icy, in the song, The Outside, there's an extremely similar line. Up and down, they're nodding, heads are moving up and down, you got it. Everybody stand in line, one by one, take a hit, join the club. Even though both those songs are extremely different in terms of their themes and hidden lyric meanings, the mental picture that each of those scenes paints is extremely similar. A lot of songs from the album Regional at Best were actually remade and re-released on the album Vessel, but some of them were never remade, they were just re-released in certain forms. So the songs Guns for Hands, Holding On to You, Ode to Sleep, and Car Radio were all remade completely for the album Vessel. Some of the songs from that album were not remade, but were repurposed for limited editions of their CDs in certain regions. There was a Japanese deluxe edition of Vessel, which included some Regional Best songs, and of course there was also a European deluxe edition, which had some different old Regional Best songs re-released. And the song Car Radio from both the albums Regional at Best and Vessel. I ponder of something great, my lungs will fill and then deflate, they fill with fire, exhale desire, I know it's dire my time today. I have these thoughts, so often I ought to replace that slot with what I once bought, 'cause somebody stole my car radio and now I just sit in silence. In this song, Tyler is talking about his anxiety created by having his car radio stolen and then subsequently having to drive in silence, which caused him to have a lot of anxiety while driving because he would overthink things that happen. He would overthink things in his life while driving and without a distraction to take his mind off of it, which would be music from his car radio. But then later in the album, Trench, through the song Levitate, there's actually an obvious reference to that line, which is, no, we're not graffiti on a passing train. I got back what I once bought back in that slot I won't need to replace. Again, a very clear that he's saying, like, he replaced his car radio, but also with the metaphor that goes along with it, being he's grown as a person. Now, there was a time during a live show that a fan actually brought him a car radio after the song Car Radio ended, and they handed it to him, and that was a fun moment. And there has been some speculation that scene, that encounter is exactly what he's referencing here. But it could be either way. It could be that directly, or it could just be the metaphor. The songs Truce and Two sound extremely similar, and if played back to back, they actually match up perfectly and basically sounds like one extra long song. Whether this was on purpose or not, or it's just a coincidence, I don't know, but it's a fun thing to listen to if you want to try it. Same thing happened with the old version of Goner and Heavy Dirty Soul. If you play the pre-Blurry Face version of Goner and then immediately play Heavy Dirty Soul, the two songs mesh perfectly, and it basically makes an extra long song. A similar thing happened with Jumpsuit and Levitate on the album Trench, but those songs were back-to-back on the album, so if you listen to them on CD, they would mesh up perfectly. But it's kind of interesting because the new version of Goner is actually the last song on Blurry Face, and Heavy Dirty Soul is the first song on the album. So one could say the old, sadder version makes the album Blurry Face an infinite loop, because the ending perfectly would match up with the beginning if he didn't end the cycle with the happier version of Goner, which they replaced it with. Also, I forgot to mention, Guns for Hands was also slightly modified and re-released on this album Vessel. Josh's drumming was remade for the Vessel version, and there's actually, in the Japanese deluxe edition, there's actually the old version of Guns for Hands as a bonus track, so whichever drum track you prefer, you can listen to that version. Also, same with the song Lovely as well. That song was completely remade and re-released in the Japanese CD deluxe edition. In the older song, Time to Say Goodbye, Tyler is rapping over the song Time to Say Goodbye by Sarah Brightman and Andrea Bocelli. I assume I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry. The song has lots of lyrics about suicide awareness and Tyler's old struggle with mental health. And that song was originally going to be released on the self-titled 21 Pilots album, but was actually canceled and not put on the album because of legal restraints. You know, they were actually just using a sample of the song Time to Say Goodbye, and so it would have been complete copyright infringement for them to use this song, and so it was left for only live shows since they could get away with that. But then the song Neon Gravestones for the album Trench is actually incredibly similar. The lyrics are very similar. It's once again about suicide awareness and Tyler struggles with mental health. There's also some new themes added in with the culture behind thinking music artists are better after their passing because of emotional attachments. But the interesting thing with that song is that the back track for that song, the piano playing, is actually Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven. And so, with the fact that he's using an old classical song as a backing for talking about suicide awareness and mental health issues, it's interesting that they would make songs which are incredibly similar for that purpose and not, use a different style. So one could think of Neon Gravestones as being a re-release of the song Time to Say Goodbye, but this time with some more pressing lyrics than what Tyler wrote when he was younger. In the song Saturday, in Scaled and Icy, Tyler sings about days of the week, and that song is mostly kind of a dance song, kind of a party music song, but an interesting fact with that song is that he doesn't mention Sunday. And Sunday is one which has been brought up many times in older 21 Pilots songs. For instance, in Migraine, where he says, "Thank God it's Friday, 'cause Sundays are my suicide days." It's interesting that they wouldn't bring it up in Saturday, which is a song which is far more positive, implying that he can't really write over his past, or if he does still feel that way, and has lots of anxieties on that day because of Sunday, meaning a lot to him with him being a Christian and all, and maybe he still feels that way and he didn't want to lie by saying, we get down on Sunday or something like that, because I guess that wouldn't be true. The song Mulberry Street from the new album Scaled and Icy and Forest from the album Regional at Best are actually extremely similar. Extremely similar to the point where you could sing the lyrics from either song to the tune of either song, and both of them would fit. Like, you could play Mulberry Street and sing Forest, or play Forest and sing Mulberry Street, and the lyrics would mesh pretty much perfectly. You have to change your pace just a little bit, but it fits extremely well. The songs are incredibly similar, and I don't know if that was on purpose or it's a coincidence. But it's always fun to see them bring back old fan favorite songs in one way or another. Alright, and that is everything that I have for right now. I've always found these sorts of similar lyric and reused lyric things to be very interesting, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on them. I don't know if I'll do another 21 Pilots video. I might do something about the actual lore of the songs or the music videos, but we'll have to see how this video does. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Please remember to subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this, or you can tell me in the comments below if you want me to do something like this ever again, but I'll get back to my manga content right away anyways, so see you guys pretty soon. Bye. Have a good one.